All right, good morning, everybody. Good morning. It is Firearms Friday, and today we have the good news. We've been talking a little bit about this going in. Hey, I see Jason over there. Let me see. For some reason, Rumble is just not updating the the live chat correctly. So I got to pull that out separately. Okay, there we go. I see Uncle Steve over on Rumble. Okay. Anyway, there's weirdness happening on the with the chat, but that's okay because I see you now. Hey, congratulations, America! Freedom just took a tiny little step forward. Now I say a tiny little step forward. So what happened was yesterday, the House passed Trump's one big beautiful bill, and I absolutely love that the name of the bill is the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Now, I hate omnibuses. I do, and that's what this is. This is a giant spending bill, and I hate them on principle. One of the many, many reasons, in fact, way up at the top of the many, many reasons that I hate them on principle is because what an omnibus is a weapon of the enemy. It is a tool of the left. Basically, we found ourselves in a position where we're fighting fire with fire. The way that lefties cram down garbage, right? Like expanded welfare state garbage, expanded useless, not so shovel ready jobs garbage, right? Trans agenda, abortion funding garbage. The way they cram all that shit sandwich down your throat is by sticking it into an omnibus bill, a continuing resolution, a great big fat spending bill. So what they do is, they talk, you'll hear the expression, nobody likes to see how the sausage is made. Well, let me tell you how the sausage is made. They take a bill that they call an omnibus or a continuing resolution, right? And that is the sausage skin, right? That's the sleeve that you put over the end of the sausage machine when you're cranking meat into the grinder to make a good sausage. And a good sausage, it's got to have the right mix of fat and meat and spices. And if it doesn't have enough fat in it, doesn't have the right mix of fat in it, this is why they call it pork barrel spending, right? And they refer to the trash that goes in there as the fat. Well, if it doesn't have the right blend of fat when you're making a sausage, it'll be gritty and grainy and the texture will be all wrong. And so what the Democrats do is they can't find it, and Republicans are guilty of it too, but when we say both sides do it, let's make no mistake. The Republicans that do this shit are your Murkowskis, right? They're your rhinos. They're not actually Republicans. They're not conservatives. They're one-party, big government shill hosers. So what they do is they don't have enough good fat to put in there because, hey, you need a little fat, right? You go straight carnivore diet, you need to take strips of beef fat, fry it so that you get the extra nutrients and vitamins and minerals that the cow stores when they're eating the grass. But the Democrat never has enough good fat. So instead, they take that sleeve that is the bill, they slide it off the grinder where the good meat and the good fat's going in, and they stick it straight up their asses and shit right down your throat. Sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. If you want to get something in, stick it in an omnibus. Shove it right in their back doors. Right? If the Democrat Party wants to ruin our sausage by sticking it up their asses, or we could just push it the rest of the way. And so they manage, our Republicans managed to get the silencer provision in. They dropped the ball on the short barrel rifles. We'll talk a little bit about short barrel rifles in a minute, but let's take a look at this article from the New York Post. That button. All right, Trump's big beautiful bill deregulates firearm silencers. They put big beautiful in quotes here. Let me say this one more time. Let me clarify this. I don't know why they put it in quotes here. It is the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. That is the official legal name of the bill, is the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Firearm silencers could soon get deregulated if the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, which cleared the House early Thursday, prevails in the Senate. Buried deep in the mega bill is a provision that would scrap a $200 federal excise tax on silencers and remove them from registration requirements under the National Firearms Act, in a significant win for gun rights and hearing protection advocates. So let me touch that real quick. TPS report reminds us it only takes one senator to get the Short Act back in. So make your calls, right? Now, for us, let me see if I can find that phone number real quick. See if I'll try to keep talking while I try to find that phone number. No, that's state senators. I'm not going to hit you with a bunch of dead air. I'll go back to that later. Yes, call your senators and hey, get the Short Act back in there. Now, TPS report says deregulate fake news. They'll be regulated as firearms. I'm not clear on that, actually, Alex. I was under the impression that the suppressor maneuver here changed them to be accessories instead of firearms. Because you're absolutely right. They should be treated as accessories and not firearms, subject to zero regulation. And okay. What is a suppressor, right? In the common parlance, the layman would call it a silencer, because Hollywood has told you this bizarre lie that you can screw an accessory onto the end of any gun. And I mean, I shit you not, I've seen them use silencers to make a whisper out of the round coming out of an M99 Snow Wolf. That's a 50 caliber sniper rifle in Hollywood, right? Not a thing. Not a thing. That is not how suppressors work. You put a can on your weapon, and what you're doing is you're saving yourself. You're attempting to save yourself from having to buy 10 grand worth of hearing aids just to keep your marriage together, okay? That's what a silencer's for. That's why it's incorrect to call it a silencer. It's a suppressor. It muffles gunfire. But y'all, if you've never fired a firearm with a suppressor on it, let me tell you something. Every time you pull a trigger, that sumbitch is loud. Right? And frankly, if you've got a firearm that is low enough caliber, that's a small enough round, that makes little enough noise, that it's actually silenced by a suppressor, what you have is not an effective tool for assassination. And that's an important distinction to make here, as we'll get into further in just a moment when we look at some of the clips from the commentators on this. But TPS says, yeah, you'll have to fill out the forms and go through your background check just like buying a gun. You just won't go through the NFA process. Right. So now, to get rid of the $200 tax stamp, that's a big deal. That's awesome. But Oh, this is a massive 2A victory. It's not enough. Let's be very clear about this. One of the chief concerns that I have here is the tax stamp, right? The $200 tax stamp. Just like the problem I have with the tax stamp on, for example, 40 millimeter high explosive grenades. There is no good reason that I can't own an M203 or an M302 for recreational demolition, for example. Right? I've got property with a bunch of trees on it. Sometimes you just have to blow up some roots. And why should I have to pay an expensive ass tax stamp for my ammunition, for my M203 or my M320? That's psychotic. That's insane. That's illegal, right? The Second Amendment is very clear. Shall not be infringed. Any imposition of levy, duty, or tax against your right to purchase, retain, own, or carry a weapon of any kind, and in this context, most especially firearms, is an undue burden on your constitutional rights, which is explicitly forbidden as an authority from the federal government. They do not have the authority at all to levy any duties, taxes, or excises on your firearms. If you've ever paid a sales tax to purchase a firearm, that is an undue burden because shall not be infringed. I have to say this all the time. I repeat it all the time. Those of you who watch Firearms Friday regularly have heard me say it over and over again. The word infringed. People hear this word, shall not be infringed, and they seem to think that it means that the government can't take your guns away. It does mean that, but it means so much more, right? You got that nice leather jacket, right? That soft suede jacket, right? Looking good, going to the hoedown, going to the square dance, right? You got your little tassels around the bottom, around the wrists, around the fringe. Infringed. No law, tax, duty, excise, prohibition, restriction, regulation, nothing. If the government mentions firearms or any weapon in any capacity whatsoever, they are in violation of the Constitution. No restriction, no regulation, no law, no excise duties, tax stamp, nothing. The government does not have the authority under the Constitution to even be aware of firearms. Legally. And that's not my opinion. That is the fucking document. It says it in no uncertain terms. Shall not be infringed. You will not place your mouse next to your coffee cup. That is it is infringing on my coffee cup. That is what the word infringe means. Shall not be infringed. There will be no rules even associated with firearms. So, buried deep in the mega bill, this is a massive 2A victory, one that takes important steps toward restoring our constitutional freedoms. Rep. Andrew Clyde of Georgia, a gun store owner who aggressively lobbied for the measure, said, I'm going to have to go find his gun store and drop in and pay him a visit. He owns a gun store in Athens, Georgia. In fact, let me double check. I think it's actually called the Athens Gun Shop. I'll have to go back and find that later. I think it's actually called the Athens Gun Shop. See, Boogie says, read it. Read what? I'm reading the article. You mean read the bill? We're not digging all the way through the bill this morning. We're talking about we're going to cover the news. So this is a massive two-way victory. Contrary to what the name implies and many movies suggest, silencers don't actually make gunshots go silent, proponents argue. Instead, this is what I just covered. Instead, they are used to direct gases from the gun's barrel through a series of chambers to reduce the sound of the loud bang. On average, they can muffle the sound of a gunshot between 20 and 35 decibels. Gunshots generally have an average of 150 to 170 decibels. For comparison, mowing the lawn usually averages between 85 to 96 decibels. So, right, just like what they're saying, just like what they're saying there. I have a hard hat, yellow hard hat. It's got a screen that comes down over your face and headphones that come down over your ears. When I cut the grass, when I run my big heavy backpack leaf blower, or run a chainsaw, something like that, I put that bad boy on. I either take my hearing aids out or I turn the microphones off, and I put those on because that shit's loud. Right? I see it's mostly men in the chat this morning, and in fact, I know several of you personally. Most of you homeowners, you do yard work like I do. You get out and run a tractor, right? Run a chainsaw, do a little yard work with some machines. And you do, it might take me a couple of hours to mow my yard because got a pretty good chunk over here. At the end of that time, if you didn't put some headphones on, some hearing protection on, against the 85 to 96 decibels, you'll notice, right? You'll notice your hearing will be dampened, muffled, in that amount of noise over time. And I can tell you from personal experience that if you have to fire a gun, especially if you have to fire it repeatedly in a sustained gunfight, for example, and God willing, you guys never have to do that unless that's your thing. I mean, I kind of miss it myself. But when the shit hits the fan and you find yourself in even a what would be a normal brief self-defense situation, a couple or three gunshots without hearing protection in, it's not just dangerous as far as damaging your hearing protection. If you're not accustomed to gunfights, if you haven't been in several and gotten used to doing it, tell you what, the first time you get in a gunfight and squeeze that trigger without hearing protection, it can be disorienting enough to actually put you in tactical threat, to distract you from the task at hand and endanger your life. Right? So, gun rights advocates argue that silencers are necessary to protect the hearing of law-abiding citizens. Absolutely. Virtually all experts recommend wearing hearing protection while firing guns, even with silencers on them. Like I said, that's why it shouldn't be called a silencer, suppressor. There's a common misconception that silencers can actually eliminate the noise of a gunshot, and that could not be further from the truth. Knox Williams, the president and the executive director of the American Suppressor Association, told the Post. In reality, suppressors do reduce the noise of a gunshot to safer levels, but they're still incredibly loud. Gunshots are so loud that without adequate hearing protection, they will cause permanent hearing damage. Y'all, for a little clarification, the company 3M produced hearing protection. Little rubber earplugs, which were inadequate. They malfunctioned. And thousands of United States Armed Services uniformed service members suffered irreparable hearing loss as a result. That's while we were using that protection. Hearing loss so substantial that those motherfuckers had to send me a check. And real quick, for you veterans out there that saw the whole thing on Facebook about the 3M hearing aid, or not hearing aid, hearing protection lawsuit, 6-7 years ago when I saw that shit, I thought it was a scam too, but I said, let's roll the dice. And now they're going to finance my tractor. Because shit happens. So let's take a peek at this. Gun Owners of America was one of the big leaders in this fight, doing the Lord's work, and they're continuing to do the Lord's work. I'm going to start with this one from Rep. Andrew Clyde talking about the bill.
Colleagues have challenged why the deregulation of silencers is in this bill, and why are we removing the $200 tax? Well, under the law, they are firearms and therefore protected by another law enacted in 1791 called our Second Amendment of our beloved Constitution. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, and neither shall it be taxed. Chief Justice John Marshall in 1819 declared that the power to tax includes the power to destroy. If you can tax it, then you can destroy it. You can raise the tax so high that almost no one can afford it, and then you really don't have a right at all. But the Second Amendment is an unalienable constitutional right, God-given, that governments are required to protect, not to tax. The Supreme Court in the Heller decision of 2008 declared the Second Amendment to be an individual constitutional right, further protecting it from taxation, just like the right to speak and the right to vote. This bill simply restores that right from over 90 years of draconian tax. My Democrat colleagues have asked, how did this get in the bill? What was the deal and who asked for it? No deal. I believe the Speaker, with the purest of motives, simply wanted to restore a constitutional right. And who asked?
Time has expired.
Me. I asked.
Excellent. And he, I love the point that he made there. He compared it because it is a right. He compared it to the right to speak and the right to vote. And the Democrats made a big damn deal out of poll taxes and things like that, right? The government is forbidden, right? We don't tax people to speak. You don't pay a tax to go vote. Our churches are tax exempt, right? Because if the government has the authority to levy taxes on you for the exercise of your rights, which, by the way, I think is also a great argument to eliminate all sales taxes, income taxes, property taxes. I could go on. Taxation is theft. Tariffs are not. They're just the cost of doing business with a foreigner. Taxation is theft. But him associating, analogizing the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms to the right to vote, which, by the way, didn't have an amendment until we needed clarification about race and gender, which is a whole other bowl of wax. Because it's a right, there's no tax. And he's right. If you have to pay a sales tax, an ATF stamp, an NFA stamp, whatever, if you have to pay a tax on anything related to your firearm, your right's been violated. Pet Danny, I assume you were making a joke about being deaf. Listen, Marine, we don't say repeat around here. That's how you get another barrage of IDF over. We say again. Say again. You won't hear me say repeat. No. Fire for effect. Good hit. What was that? Repeat. Whoa. Say again, baby. Say again. Okay. Why does it let me close that out? Oh, there we go. Okay. So the Gun Owners of America, excuse me, have also shared some other comments from people opposing it, and I want to look at some of these. Bear with me. This is also important. It passed 215 to 214. It barely passed. Shit, at 7:55. I'm about to have to button this up and get down the road. I gotta make a 2.5 hour drive in about 2 hours and 15 minutes. But so I'm not gonna be able to get to the other commentators. Let me just say this about it. 215 to 214. We do not have Donald Trump for 4 years. The Donald ain't perfect, but he's doing a lot of great stuff. He's doing a lot of great work. And we've seen the psychotic nonsense like universal injunctions and all that shit that's going on. It's aggravating. It really is aggravating. Yo, we've got less than a year. We need to be paying attention hard. Right? Just over a year from now is the midterm elections. So for the next just under a year, we have got to be paying attention to who's going to be up for election, who's going to be up to be primaried. And we've got to pay close attention. If we lose the House and the Senate, especially the Senate, because there are traitors in the House as well. If we lose either of them, Donald Trump will be impeached and removed from office in January of 2027. Full stop. And we've learned from the Ukraine hoax and the Russia hoax that the Democrats don't even need a reason. They will not bother to craft an intelligible justification. They will simply say, Orange man bad, Orange man bad. Right? And I don't know where we go from there. I don't know if we recover from that. Because look at the world right now. Look at the situation right now. Yeah, Donald Trump won in 2024. Right? And I have some suspicions about how that went down. Right? And I'll end. This is probably going to end up being one of our deep dives where we talk about voter suppression and voter fraud. I think what really happened in 2024 is the Democrats realized that they fucked up with Joe Biden. And so they pulled him, they dropped in Kamala as a sacrificial lamb and decided to give it to Donald Trump because they were afraid that they were about to get caught with their pants down for real. Right? They figured out that they understood that Biden didn't just screw everything up. He did it so miserably and so badly that it could not be ignored by the American voter. And so, you know, that nut rag Kamala was essentially the dirty towel that they threw in the ring. She was the white flag, you know, not a clean and unblemished white flag, one in desperate need of some laundering and bleach, maybe a trip to the French Laundry, but a white flag nonetheless, where they quit. But that was a tactical retreat. Now, they appear to be scattered and broken at the moment. And I actually believe that is true. But the point to a tactical retreat, when you are scattered and broken, is to withdraw, regroup, refit, resupply, and then engage and destroy the enemy. Right? Right now, the first footfall of liberty, the beachhead of freedom, the United States of America, is feeling pretty damn good. Right? Chesty Puller. I got enemy in front of me. I got enemy behind me. I got them to my right and to my left. Great. I got them right where I want them. They can't get away. I'm surrounded. It means I can't miss. Right? And then all of a sudden, little 40 Mike, little bang bang, little Mike 99. You know, if you're worried about rolling out of bed, maybe a little Mark 19, fix your problem, keep you safe. The enemy appears to be broken. That doesn't mean they're not coming back. Beaten is not eliminated. Beaten is not eliminated. An enemy without an anchor shot is still a viable threat. They're going to regroup. They're going to try something. And so the victory dance is a good thing. It really, I love a fine cigar. Love a victory dance. But that doesn't mean that you slack off. You must remain vigilant. Every time I walked away from a firefight in Afghanistan, I'd pull a cigar out of the cleaning kit compartment in the buttstock of my M16. I'd light that bad boy up, sling my rifle, got my cup of coffee, my cigar. But y'all, just because the one fight was over, I had it happen to me. Walking along, enjoying my cigar, right? We weren't coming out of a gunfight. We had just done a raid, got some bad guys, smoking my cigar, got my cup of coffee, in my 10 mug that they gave me when I re-enlisted, and got ambushed. And some son of a bitch shot the handle off my re-up cup. My baby brother sent me a Tervis tumbler to replace it 10, 15 years ago, and I'm still using that coffee cup for my driving mug, by the way. But, even with that cigar in my teeth, I was ready to return fire. Got to pay attention. Just because we win today does not mean that the enemy is completely routed. War is won when a man puts boots on terra firma and holds that ground with force and in no other circumstance. That is the only way that victory is secured. So hold your ground, boys. Keep calm and carry one. And for your safety brief, because I got to get out the door, don't drive drink. Don't fry bacon naked. We love you, and we will see you tomorrow evening on Rumble for the member exclusive show. Y'all tune in. We'll be live for the first 10 to 15 minutes. And I tell you what, there's a good handful of people watching and chatting. I'll go ahead and let me give away one free sub this morning before I go. And hopefully one of you beautiful people will get a chance to come watch the exclusive live content tomorrow evening. Let's see. We'll hang out for just a second and see who wins it. It's spinning the counter. It's spinning the counter. Cindy says, see you then. TPS report, one free membership. Redneck Sniper says, we still have to call the senators to put the Short Act back in. Yes, indeed. Absolutely. Hey, Redneck Sniper, I think that's the first time I've seen your name in the chat. You're watching on YouTube. Do me a favor, brother. Go find us on Rumble. Follow us on Rumble. Tune in tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. For the first 10 to 15 minutes, we'll stay live on all platforms. And then when we switch over to the members only section, we go Rumble Premium exclusive. Right? Before we do that, after 10 to 15 minutes live on all other platforms, when we kick off the moochers and go behind the paywall, we'll be giving away more free memberships. Congratulations, Alex, on your free membership to the Brushfire Mind. Thanks for watching today, guys. Be safe, be safe, be prepared, be vigilant. Call your senators, tell them to get the Short Barrel Rifle Act back in, get the SBR Rifle Act back in, and let's do this.